It took about 30 years from the time of Columbus's first voyage to the New World before the Spanish were able to establish enough of a foothold in the Caribbean holdings to seriously consider expanding to the mainland. Initially, Columbus was given broad authority as to how he wanted to govern the New World, but within the first decade, that authority was taken from him. It was ostensibly based on the allegations he was abusing both the native people and the Spanish that were sent to the islands, but more realistically, it was to give the power to those loyal to the crown and church. It was during this transitory period that Hernan Cortés arrived as an 18-year-old in 1504. He took part in taking military control over the island Hispaniola, and later Cuba in 1511. Cortés initially worked for and impressed the first governor of Cuba, and as a result he was able to gain political power and wealth. The governor had planned for Cortés to lead an expedition to explore what is now Mexico, but then their relationship became strained, and he rescinded that order just before Cortés was scheduled to leave. Cortés ignored the rescission order and took the expedition to the mainland in open defiance of the governor. Cortés arrived on the mainland around 1519 and met a Franciscan priest by the name of Guillermo de Aguilar. Aguilar had been shipwrecked on the mainland and was captured by Mayan people in the area, and during his time in captivity he had learned enough of the language to act as somewhat of a translator. The Aztec were not only still dominant, but arguably at their peak of expansion. But that also meant they were at their peak in terms of enemies looking to push back against that expansion. Cortés' small force was able to establish a foothold near what is now the Tabasco region of southern Mexico. The group had taken control of a small fortification, but then were attacked on all sides. The Spanish were able to hold despite being relatively few in number, thanks to having cannons and horses, something that had never been seen before against those who were fighting against. A Spanish soldier by the name of Bernal Diaz del Castillo described the battle by saying, quote, "They brought great plumes, drums, and small trumpets. Their faces were red with ochre, pale and dark. They had great bows and arrows and spears and bucklers, and they were in such large squads that all the savannah was covered. They came furiously and surrounded us on all sides. The first attack wounded more than 70 of us, and there were 300 Indians for each one of us. And being in this, we saw how the cavalry came from behind them, and we trapped them with them on one side and we on the other. And the Indians believed that the horse and the rider were one as they had never seen horses before." History is awkward.